Family greetings, welcome back to my channel. Family, I have a confession to make on this video. A few weeks ago, actually a few months ago, let me be honest, a few months ago, I made the mistake of watching a video about Shawn and Karen on the channel called Rockin' with Miss Ellis, right? And family, ever since I watched that video, I've been watching videos on Miss Ellis' channel ever since. I mean, it's like literally every day I find myself trying to get an update about the Shawn and Karen situation. Okay, now Shawn and Karen are two YouTube and TikTok sensations who live on the island of Jamaica. Now, what makes their story so interesting is that they are two rather eccentric persons. Shawn, he is the husband, he is 42 years old, and Karen, she's the wife. She says at one point last week she said she was 35. Well, yesterday she says she's 37, right? But Shawn and Karen are a married couple that are being taken care of by the owner of the YouTube channel, whose name is Miss Ellis, Sophia Ellis. But Miss Ellis is widely known for having assisted them over the past few years. Okay, and so what has been taking place with them is a very convoluted story, and I don't even know where to begin to really start telling their story. But one interesting part of their history is that the reason why Shawn married Karen was because her baby father couldn't find his birth certificate on that date, right? And so they had a discussion. Um, Shawn was told by Karen's baby father that he could marry her, right? And so if you can accept that, if you can stomach that, you're in for a very wild ride, because what has been happening recently, actually even up to yesterday, is that there's now a mutiny in the camp of Miss Ellis. All right. For the past 2 weeks, Karen has been saying that she's going to visit her stepfather, who goes by the name of Willie Reds. Right. And for the past 2 weeks, everyone has been saying, no, Shawn, Karen is actually going to cheat on you. She's not going by her stepfather. They never saw her stepfather before. But it turns out that Karen indeed had a stepfather who lives in Portmore, right? And so apparently she decided that she would go and visit her stepfather in Portmore, right? And she took her husband with her. Initially she had been saying that Shawn can't go with her because the stepfather told her he doesn't want Shawn in the house, right? And after inquiries were made, it was determined that this was a lie. Karen had been lying, and the stepfather said he had no knowledge of ever saying that Shawn wasn't welcome in the home, right? But as soon as they arrived at the home, Karen went through a transformation where she now has a bitter resentment for Miss Ellis, who has been taking care of them, buying them clothing, who's been buying them groceries, who's taking them from being homeless to now living in one of her apartments. She recently added on an extension to the apartment, which is now a kitchen. So as soon as the kitchen had finished the construction, they decided to go on this trip to Portmore, to the stepfather's house. And like I said, when she arrived there, she started to get very um, resentful towards Miss Ellis. It has reached a point where Miss Ellis has had to put her foot down, and she is now banning Karen from the apartment that she had been allowing them to live in. And she's also saying that the only person who can go to the home is Shawn. All right. Well, if you've been following the story, you know that Shawn has shown more appreciation and gratitude towards Miss Ellis. Karen, on the other hand, basically very indifferent about the whole situation. Oftentimes, people have to poke and prod her to say thank you or to give any type of appreciation to Miss Ellis. But I came to give my subscribers an update of what is happening today as Shawn has returned to the home, the apartment that Miss Ellis has allowed them to live in, and Karen decided to remain in Portmore with Willie Reds and her other family members. Right, so they made an arrangement where Shawn will go to work for 4 days and live in the apartment, sponsored by Miss Ellis, and that 3 days out of the week while he's off, he will return and he will live at the home of Willie Reds with his current wife. All right, this situation, I'm giving you all an update. I have some reflections, some brief reflections, but I just given an update. Um, and so now Shawn has come out today and said that he himself has had enough. Okay, because we know that he's in a toxic and an abusive relationship. All right, we know that his wife routinely uh, gives him a few punches here and there. She basically rules his life. But Shawn today has decided that enough is enough. Shawn is saying that if anybody knows where he can find a divorce paper, you need to call Miss Ellis. He doesn't know very much about the procedures of regular day-to-day things, and so Miss Ellis has been instrumental in allowing him to get his life in order, allowing him to have a job and take care of his wife. She got him his passport. She recently took them on a trip. I think it was to Venezuela. No, Panama. Sorry, I think they went to Panama, and they both traveled for the first time in their lives. And so I think that Miss Ellis is doing a very commendable job by taking care of these people, and they're not any spring chickens. Like I said, Shawn is 42. Karen is either 35 or 37. Okay, so ordinarily, society would often turn their backs on persons and say, well, hey, you missed your train. There's nothing they can do for you. But Miss Ellis has a heart of gold. She's been assisting them over the past few years. I can see videos going back as far as 5 years ago with Shawn, Karen being interviewed by Miss Ellis. But what I would say, I would be remiss if I didn't give some impartial commentary about the whole situation. We know that it's a mutually beneficial situation for all parties because while Shawn and Karen are receiving assistance, I believe that the content, like them being recorded, is content that has been financially productive for Miss Ellis. It's been something that generated revenue for Miss Ellis, right? I don't think it probably covers the cost of what she does, though. But I'm saying that it's not like there isn't any kind of exchange going on. But I think Karen, because of whatever her mental challenges are, she is very temperamental. Um, it seems she's developed some kind of resentment for Miss Ellis over a period of time. And looking at that situation, it reminds me of a thought that I had a few years back when I opined that oftentimes persons will resent you when you are able to assist them, right? In most cases, in most normal cases, people will have a great deal of respect for persons that help them. But in some rare instances, there are persons who develop envy and jealousy and resentment when they see a person is consistently able to assist them, right? I don't know why. Maybe it's because they would like to not have that relationship of dependency, or maybe they just want to be in the position that the person is in that is providing the assistance. But who knows? But in some rare instances, like what we're seeing with Karen, oftentimes persons will begin to, some persons will begin to now resent the person who is providing them with the assistance, right? And that's what we're seeing happening with Karen at the moment. All right, I do believe that she's a little frustrated with being bombarded with the social media. They've become increasingly more popular in Jamaica, and so I think the impact of social media is what really caused Karen to start to have um, an irritable disposition. But be that as it may, I think Ms. Ellis has shown them a lot of um, leniency in the past. So perhaps it may be at the end of this year or the beginning of next year, if Karen and Shawn find that their differences are irreconcilable, or no, if they find that their differences are reconcilable, then we may see them return as a family unit in the apartment of Miss Ellis. But if the differences are irreconcilable, then we may see Shawn talking about man and woman business with a totally different lady. It could be someone named Patsy. It could be someone named Sharon. We don't know who it's going to be, but Shawn appears to be intent on replacing Karen. Um, and he's saying he wants the financial support. He's at the house now. He's been soliciting several opportunities on TikTok. He says that on Saturday now he has a rendezvous. It seems like with as many as 10 people who said they are trying to come to the apartment. But family, this is just a brief deviation from the news. This is YouTube news. These are two, or I should say three YouTubers who are having some difficulties. I hope that Miss Ellis is given some kind of national award for what she's been doing with Shawn and Karen. She's doing a commendable job. Okay, family. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below about all these dynamics. One love.